Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. We are in the days of June, the month dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, that powerful symbol of his love for each one of us. That's the only dedication of the month that matters to us. It's a month of great saints and martyrs, including St. John Fisher and Thomas More. For this week's Nugget, I want to focus on someone I may have introduced to you before, someone very important to Nasarean, to the church in the Middle East, and I believe to the wider church. It's particularly what he said about the Holy Eucharist that will be the focus for our thoughts this week. The man is Father Ragheed Ganni, priest of the Chaldean Catholic Church, who was martyred in Mosul in 2007 with his 3 subdeacons right after Sunday Mass. It's worth noting the date, 2007, long before such a thing as ISIS existed, but Iraqi Christians were suffering persecution, kidnapping and murder as a direct consequence of the invasion in 2003, exactly as St. John Paul II had warned. Father Ragheed had been told by the jihadi militants to close his church, and right before they shot him, he uttered those beautiful words, "How can I close the house of God?" I was in the town of Karamlesh, Iraq, close to Mosul, in 2017, along with my journalist friend Edward Penton, when we found the grave of Father Ragheed in the burned church. ISIS had dug up the bodies of the Christians in the graveyard and in the sacristy where the priests were buried, but had failed to dig up Father Ragheed's body, a true miracle. Father Ragheed, who studied in Rome, was offered the chance to stay there because it was so dangerous for Christians in Mosul, but he said he must return to his people. Just a year after Father Ragheed was martyred, in 2008, his own bishop, Bishop Raho, was kidnapped and martyred in Mosul. Father Ragheed and the other Christian witnesses in Iraq offer us in the West so many lessons, not just the lesson of faith, of hope and endurance, but true commitment. He said one time that even though they were in great danger, the churches were full on Sunday. What does that say to us? What gave him strength and courage? A man who those who had studied with him, who found him warm and amenable, but not strikingly impressive, like most of us. Speaking at the National Eucharistic Congress in Italy in 2005, just 2 years before his martyrdom, Father Ragheed said this, his words, "There are days when I feel frail and full of fear, but when holding the Eucharist I say, 'Behold the Lamb of God,' I feel his strength in me. Ironically, through terrorist violence, we have learned that it is in the Eucharist, the Christ who died and rose, that gives us life, and this allows us to resist and hope." There's little need for me to say anything. Meditate on these words of a man who faced death on a daily basis simply for being a priest, whose congregants faced the same dangers just for being Christians. But they had discovered the mystery of the saints throughout the ages, the Christ who died and rose, present in the Eucharist. Only that faith, which gave the Christians, as he said, strength to resist and hope, will sustain us, whatever we may face in the future, but also the fear and frailty we all experience. We will face some of what Father Ragheed faced, of that there's no doubt. Let us ask him as our patron to give us something of that comforting faith in the Eucharist to help us resist and hope. Brethren, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, like a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.